how the current socio-economic system works. In the first video of this series, we determined how the state is a weapon used by the few to control and plunder from the many. But how does that system work? The most direct way that the state can control and plunder from the productive middle class is through the direct use of violence. Governments have taken their weapons and pointed them at people living within the area that they control. This method, while very effective, has also proven to be very inefficient. In a society repressed by a violent government, the economy of that area quickly deteriorates and plummets to the ground. It does not take long for the middle class to disappear and become the new class of poor people. So someone somewhere had this great idea to hide the weapons of the state and pretend they were not there. They gave people the illusion of choice by allowing them to vote every X amount of years. And they vote for one of a few politicians to become president, and for small groups of politicians that will become the legislative arm of the government. They call this system democracy. But democracy is not enough to keep the middle class happy. If there are only pigs amongst those that they can vote for, then the scheme is revealed as a fraud, where there is no choice for the individual. But if instead we give them a choice between, say, a donkey and an elephant, now people think they have a choice. The donkeys and elephants may very well be a reference to US politics. However, this scheme works in most of the Western world. What we call liberals and conservatives in the US, we call social democrats and neoliberals in Latin America, and we call socialists and capitalists in other places. So what are the differences between these two groups of politically extreme opposites who together form the dichotomy of schools of thought in the political realm? In US terms, liberals are those who are convinced that the economic and social prosperity are accomplished by having a just and cooperative society in which individuals work together as a whole. They are also convinced that the end of poverty is achieved through utilizing the available resources to produce for the masses, and also to directly help the poor out of their condition. The welfare state, government safety net, progressive taxes, redistribution of wealth, these are all necessary if we are all to work towards prosperity. This is achieved through a strong and healthy government to provide and help the poor while keeping an eye on the rich so that they don't use their privileged position to prey on others. People who tend to be on the liberal side tend to believe that the focus of a society needs to be on the poor, how we help the poor, how we get them out of their situation. On the other side, there are the conservatives. They are convinced that the economy and social prosperity are accomplished by having a society with strong moral values and working ethic. They are also convinced that the end of poverty is achieved through utilizing the available resources to produce for the masses and also to protect the country from those forces that may threaten their way of life. The welfare state, a morality code enforced by government, tax cuts, a strong private sector, these are all necessary if we are to work towards prosperity. This is achieved through a strong and healthy government to provide and enforce moral guidelines while making sure no terrorists or communists or foreigners ever threaten our liberties. People who tend to be more on the conservative side tend to believe that the focus of society needs to be on the rich, how to create more wealth, how to expand the military for defense. Well, there you have them. Pretty contrasting, right? Except for one thing. There is something they both want. They both want big and healthy government. This is the false dichotomy created by the ruling class to give the middle class the illusion of choice. Donkeys and elephants. They told us this is capitalism. They have taught us to hate the source of the current problems, free markets, because those on top don't really want capitalism and free markets. If these huge corporations and wealthy politicians are already on top, they do not welcome competition. If you don't know what I mean, check out the first video of the series, Fuck Capitalism, Here's Why We Hate It. This is how the system really works. The evil rich people on top, yeah, I mean the rich people who are involved with government, either politicians directly or corporations indirectly. They know that it's not efficient to directly point their weapons at the middle class, and they also know that it is not cost effective to appeal directly to the vast majority of individuals, the middle class. So they came up with a great plan. They do not care if people realize that the system is faulty and unjust, as long as they think that they understand it, and that they believe that they can change it. So they create these two groups to vote for. In the US, the Republicans, who appeal to the rich, and the Democrats, who appeal to the poor. Those in the middle class who believe that the way to prosperity is by helping the poor will side with the Democrats. Those who believe that the way to prosperity is by following the rich will side with the Republicans. In the end, everyone sides with big government. In the next video of this series, The Beast, Kill It Now or Let It Die Later, I will address the decision we have between letting this unsustainable situation go on until its inevitable end or making the change now.